If you believe the universe has a creator, but religion just doesn't resonate with you, consider the analogy. God is to reality what zero is to math. It is so different from what people expect that it can be easily misunderstood. So please, allow me to clarify its meaning by defining the key words within it. But before we start, let's replace the word God with an X. This is an invitation to rethink the concept of God, so we should try to eliminate the chance of triggering the urge to defend any preconceived notions. We will be solving for X in order to define and describe God. The first thing we must do is establish the relationship between reality and math. Reality is all that exists. It is what it is, regardless of observation or measurement by any witness. Math is our most objective and accurate system of describing what we are able to observe and experience. Numbers act as a shorthand for adjectives, answering the question how many or how much. They are not real, but they matter because what they describe is real. Now, unlike words, which we define by agreement, numbers are defined by their relation to zero. The number line illustrates how the value of every number in the absolute sense is based on its relation to zero. In order to have a first of anything, there must have previously been none, no exceptions. Numbers are consistent because their definitions are based on zero, which is constant, unchanging, and beyond finite definition. Because it was discovered long after numbers were in use, people may try to argue that we really don't need it. But history is like our personal learning experience. We learn about numbers through example and are able to perform basic arithmetic without concern for zero as an absolute value. But upon its discovery, we find we had been using it all along without even realizing it. Whenever you clear space to start counting, that empty space represents zero. The unmarked edge of a ruler or measuring stick is zero. Sliding all the pegs of an abacus to one side signifies zero. And closing your fist before you start counting with your fingers represents zero as well. It isn't an invention. Zero is the unavoidable starting point for measurement. We do not impose it on systems, we recognize its necessity within them. It is the absolute reference used to define all numbers and prove all equations. Zero's role in math is unique, but it should not be excluded from math's application to reality. Since zero has no finite attributes, it is impossible to provide tangible proof for it. Demanding physical evidence for zero is unreasonable. What would be even more unreasonable is to assume that our most objective way of describing reality has a fictional foundation. Even if zero were just a mathematical invention, it wouldn't be needed unless it describes something real. And the reality it must describe is what we would call the creator of all, the universal origin, or the infinite singularity. We can only define zero according to what it isn't, but it should be described according to its relevance to everything else. Some people see it as having no value in an attempt to dismiss and demean. I see it as invaluable, which is reason to exalt and praise. Everything universally believed about God matches the reality zero must represent in math, except the aspects that involve imagination or personification. The God analogy not only gives us an example of something we understand yet cannot perceive or imagine, but it also removes the contradictions associated with defining the Creator in ways that only fit creation. Of course, we associate power with choice and actions, so it is difficult to think of dominion or supremacy without them. A deity we can relate to makes us more comfortable. Unfortunately, that comfort leads to contradictions. Our morals and virtues can't be separated from our flaws and limitations. So, what may be meant as a compliment is actually an insult. Now, people who prefer a more personal approach to God may struggle with this comparison. They'll say, well, if God doesn't care or act, why worship? This question reduces the absolute creator of all to a wish granting genie. or a Santa Claus for adults that gives heaven to the nice and hell to the naughty. The absence of perception, imagination, or personification may make it seem like God can't be understood or described. Zero's role as the absolute reference for all value in math provides more insight than what would be assumed. Zero represents the absolute, infinite, perfect, eternal, and omnipresent. According to the law of identity, the origin must also be omniscient and omnipotent without the limits of intellect or action. God is to reality what zero is to math. Zero is the foundational reference for math, and math describes reality. The foundation of reality must be singular, supreme, and worthy of the highest esteem, what we call God. Even if you struggle to separate God from the myths and personified attributes assigned throughout history, the analogy shows that these fictional ideas are based on something real, just as Santa Claus is based on the man St. Nicholas of Myra. The analogy doesn't try to define God into existence, it points out the truth behind the fictional depictions of God. The idea of a creator of the universe automatically invokes images of a larger than life being, even when we know about zero. It would have been even harder to escape such imagery without zero, as it was for the people when the Bible and Quran were written. If this resonates with you, check out more content at zerothemathgod.com. There you'll find more about intellectual righteousness, the philosophy built on the analogy God is reality with zeros to math. You will also find Theology for the New Millennium, the book introducing intellectual righteousness, and Musical Revelation, a rap EP about the philosophy. Both are available to be previewed in their entirety for free. But before you go, don't forget to like, share, and follow. Until next time, may peace be with you.